Well, Angela Yee sent the internet into a frenzy last night as 1/3 of the Breakfast Club tweeted out, "The Breakfast Club as you know it is over. God is good." A lot of fans did what fans on the internet do. They immediately speculated that the Breakfast Club as a whole was done. I did my due diligence and waited to the announcement this morning that Angela Yee made. She will officially be leaving the Breakfast Club at some point in the fall. She said this morning. "This is something that I've been wanting to do for years now, since way before the pandemic. I actually sat down with our big boss, Thea Mitchum, and I was telling her, look, I really want to have my own show. You know, I have my lip service podcast, and I was thinking I would be able to get something like a weekend situation. You know, one day ease into having my own show again. I did come from Sirius where I had the morning after with Angela Yee. So it's always been a goal of mine to have that, and so I thought I would still be on here, speaking on the Breakfast Club, and then do that show as well. But years later, they approached me up here at iHeart. Thea had to sit down with me and told me that they're going to give me my very own show. I wasn't sure what was happening when she first told me, but I am going to be leaving the Breakfast Club. You guys obviously will continue on, and it'll be a different iteration of the Breakfast Club, but I will have my own show at iHeart as well. So I'll be a part of the family." Yeah, so just kind of listening to Yee break this down, it sounds like this has been something that probably started manifesting when she and Charlamagne were not seeing eye to eye. Now, thank goodness, the show has been a lot better over the last couple years with Yee and Charlamagne publicly saying that they put their differences to the side. I want to be clear with you guys. All these podcasts and all these different forms of content you see today, a lot of these things don't exist. I go as far as to say most of these don't exist without the relevancy, the impact that the Breakfast Club has had on the culture. So before we go anywhere further, I want to stop this video by saying thank you to the Breakfast Club in the form that we know it had been, the original form of DJ Envy, Angela Yee, and Charlamagne the God. The impact that these three have had on the culture. I can specifically say me. Remember, I'm almost 7-8 years in the game. When I started out, the only place that I was looking to for inspiration for a long time was what those three were doing out of New York, and then became this nationally syndicated platform. So thank you to those three. It looks like Envy and Charlamagne will continue on as the Breakfast Club. They're going to have to get a new co-host. I'm assuming it to be either the young lady that Charlamagne is really tight with, the radio personality out of Chicago, I forgot her name, or Remy Ma. I believe it'll be either of those two as the replacement for Angela Yee. I'm assuming Charlamagne to pick the person or be heavily involved in picking the person. But congrats to Yee. Give her flowers. She deserves it. Yee don't get enough credit for some of her early days and how, plugged in Yee is. Now, let's get to the future here. Do I believe Yee's going to have a crap ton of success as a solo talent? My guess would be, I don't think so. I was a person that tuned into the Lip Service podcast. Obviously, this won't be that because it's going to be on the radio. Yee's very plugged in and very resourceful. She is a decent interviewer in my estimations. So, I believe Yee can have a lot of guests on with those culturally relevant moments that happen on the Breakfast Club so organically over the years. Would those things still be in play for Yee as often? I would probably assume it to be no. But can Yee still have a profitable space for Power or for iHeartMedia? I'm assuming it may be that to be so. All right, so congratulations to Yee. I do want to say this piece as well. A lot of people don't talk about this. One of the reasons why so many of these podcasts and these other, different shows are able to exist in the ways that they are is because Charlamagne, about 4 or 5 years ago, took a pretty big step back. This is not the same Charlamagne. I'm talking about the Charlamagne with no filter, the loudmouth, the one before the face iterations, before the face treatment kicked in. That Charlamagne was to me, the greatest interviewer of his era, and it ain't even close. I'll tell that to anybody. He's one of the greatest interviewers of all time. But that specific version of Charlamagne was unfiltered, uncensored. I'm sure it caused a lot of problems behind the scenes. But from a content perspective, it wasn't close. The man was just walking content. He's not that anymore. He's in a different phase in life. He's a celebrity now. You know, the Breakfast Club still has good interviews. Charlamagne's a part of it. He's found different ways to ask questions, but he ain't the straight shooter that he once was. You know, he doesn't really keep up with a lot of today's music like he used to. Some of the youngins, which makes him a little less culturally keyed in with the younger talents. So what have we seen over the last 3-4 years? A lot of these talents are going elsewhere. If you're Chris Brown, you don't have to tap in with the Breakfast Club. You could just go do Nori's podcast. If you're a Method Man, you can go do Mav Hoffa's podcast. If you're Meek Mill, you could just go do Gillian Wallow's $1 million worth of game. If you're Young Thug, you can keep it local in Atlanta and just rock out with the Big Fast podcast. There are just so many different avenues, and all these platforms can do big time views, all right? A lot of these are 40 and up platforms. There are just so many different places to go for content and media nowadays, where a lot of these people in these places are just a little more keen in on certain things than Charlamagne is today, because he is a celebrity, a big deal, trying to get his own show off the ground on television. There has been a lapse in the content game that has allowed for all these people to flourish. And I wonder, did Angela Yee see that? I mean, she's involved in it. I want to know, why did she still, at the end of the day, decide to make the move to leave the Breakfast Club? At the end of the day, at some point recently, Yee had to say, okay, I'm ready to do this. No matter what, I'm leaving the Breakfast Club. She knows what comes with that big time platform. And I wonder, was it the fact that Charlamagne is just not the personality that he once was? Because Charlamagne was the LeBron of that shit. You could just attach anything to it and you're pretty much getting to the championship bare minimum, all right? But he ain't that anymore. But this version of Charlamagne is the guy that was able to end the issues that he had with Yee. So you probably don't get the Yee and Charlamagne that we see today that seems to be on the same page if Charlamagne doesn't become this new version of himself. But that new version of himself is just not as polarizing. It's just not as he once was. It just is what it is. I've noticed that for years now. I think I did a video a few months ago and I was like, he don't got the ear anymore. He don't got the eye anymore. And it hurts me because, again, I think he's one of the greatest, if not greatest, interviewers of all time. But I wonder how much did that piece to the puzzle play into Yee saying, I'm gone. Congratulations to Angela Yee. She's a part of one of the most legendary things our culture's ever seen. It is coming to an end in this form. Again, Charlamagne Envy will push on. What I'm assuming to be a new co-host. If Kendra G's probably the person to replace Angela Yee, because that's one of Charlamagne's picks. But only time will tell. I think Remy Miles got a real shot at it as well. We shall see. Thank y'all so much. Time, love, support is what your boy will never take for granted around here. Salute. I'm out.